It's easy to screw up when trying to make sustainable habit changes. I know because, well, I've struggled against my own bad habits for years, hopelessly trapped in a whirlpool of internet scrolling, porn, video games, substances, you name it. Luckily, not only have I developed powerful systems for breaking out of these habits, I've been blessed enough to teach these systems to thousands of men over the years and help them achieve similar results. My name is Mark Kweppet, and I'm here to help you eliminate escapism and unleash your apex potential. And today I'm going to be walking you through exactly how I plot out my habit changes these days in a step-by-step manner. If you employ a similar approach, I'm confident that you will get incredible results. So, let's get right into it, okay? Step number one, my friends, is to get clear on the outcome you're trying to achieve. And that should really come as no surprise to you, but yeah, we got to figure out what's the end result we're looking for here. So in my case, right now, I'm looking to massively increase my output on social media. You see, we, meaning my business partner, Derek, my team, and myself have been spending like the past several years iterating and experimenting on our core business offering. The intent is to create the best masculine development platform on the planet. And to pull this off, we needed to create the best system for helping men eliminate their bad habits and improve their lives, while also delivering it in a scalable fashion that would let us build a massively thriving business. It was honestly really tricky to nail down, and it took way longer than I thought, getting both pieces to work together, both the actual, content and the delivery mechanism and the business systems and stuff. It was challenging. And while I was focusing on all that, I really had to let my effort on social media dip quite a bit because, if you can put out all the content you want in the world, but if you don't have anything to monetize, well, it doesn't really end up becoming, it's not a good use of effort, really. So luckily, I believe we finally nailed what we were looking for with the offering in the new Frontline Man program. The results, really, they've been insane for all the guys who've gone through the program so far. And if you're interested in hearing more about that, make sure you click on the link in the description to get on the email list if you want to be alerted to the next Frontline Man cohort. But anyway, now that we've got our core offering, the next step is to get it into the hands of more guys. So that means marketing, advertising, that kind of stuff. And that's where my big social media goal comes into play. For the first time in years, I'm able to make social media a primary focus for me again. And because of that, I'm going to be having to shift up my work habits quite a bit. And this is where I'm looking to change my behaviors. And so I'm going to walk you through how I'm doing this, okay? So talking about my ideal outcome, all right, what I would love to get to is the point where I'm producing daily quality content. And because, well, I see like social media as sort of like the front end of my business. And I want to be, quote unquote, open for business, getting new customers every single day. I want to be bringing people into the Frontline Man program and really helping those of you who are already here just deepen your process further. Now, doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be putting out long form content every single day, but at least something of quality to keep you guys tuned into the process of eliminating escapism and unleashing your apex potential. So that means I'm going to have to produce quite a lot of stuff. So after we get that, the next step really is to analyze the behavior chain. So I've got my objective, produce daily content. Next step is to look at all of the things that would go into me producing that outcome of, daily content. And so what does that look like here? Well, if I'm making content, what are the steps? It's like I need to brainstorm ideas. I need to pick the best ones. I need to draft the content, record the content, and then it needs all the post-production stuff like thumbnails, editing, headlines, subtitles, timestamps, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, it needs to be scheduled and uploaded on all the various different platforms. And so, this gets split for me. A lot of the production stuff, that's on me. And then the post-production stuff, that's on my team to take care of. But the important thing is that I've taken inventory of all the stuff that needs to happen. Okay, so you're kind of just in this step here, you're just trying to get it all out, all down on paper or in a Word document or wherever it is you like to take notes. So to use a different example, if you were looking to massively improve your fitness, this would be making a list of all the things you need to do, like mapping out what are your calories and your macros, your shopping list, when you're going to do your shopping, what meals are you going to do, when you're going to be doing all your prep, the workout split that you'll be following, your progressive overload strategy for weightlifting, etc. Okay. And once you get all that stuff listed out, you'll be ready for the next step. And in this next step, what you're going to do is you're going to identify your keystone practice. So, when you write everything out, you might end up with a lot of things written down. And it might be challenging to try and nail all that stuff perfectly. In fact, you probably don't want to try and nail it all perfectly, at least not in great detail at first, because it's just going to be too overwhelming. It's going to be too much for you to adapt to, and it's just going to usually make the process way harder than it needs to be. What you do want to do, though, is identify what would be that keystone shift that will make every other part of the process easier and more doable if you get it down. So, in my case, producing a lot of good content all comes down to having a constant stream of quality ideas. If I've got a bunch of good ideas to choose from, then the rest of the process runs very smoothly. So nailing this piece is the very first thing that I want to be focusing my real energy on. So, for example, here's the system that I'm currently using to generate a steady stream of content ideas. At the major junction points of my day, so at the beginning of my day, before breaks, and then at the end of my day, I reflect on what I've just done. Okay, and I see if there's any topic ideas that I can extract from that. So if I just coach someone, for example, I'll see what insights from the call I could maybe turn into a piece of content. If I just did some emotional processing of my own stuff, what I'm dealing with, I'll see if there's any principle there that maybe I could teach or make a video on. If my 5-year-old daughter says something that is interesting to me, it makes me think, and because she does that pretty regularly, I'll see how I could work that into an interesting story or something like that, right? I'm looking to use and automate my content creation by simply looking at my life and seeing what I can snag from it, okay? But we want to make this smooth. We want to make it efficient. And so I think, okay, well, how do I really capture that stuff? So I'm really going to follow it through. I try and this is where we get detailed, is in this keystone part, we want to get detailed and super clear. So, all right, I'm writing down these ideas. How am I writing them down? Well, I found that, I do most of my note taking and, writing and stuff in an app called Obsidian, but it's not so great for quickly capturing ideas. And so I'm using a different app called Todoist because it's got super good quick capture ideas, and then you can organize things really easily. I even, I got my home screen on my phone set up so I can just quickly do it any time of day. On my desktop, I can hit a key combination and boom, quick capture, perfect. And then at the end of the day, okay, usually after I get my daughter to sleep, I review all the ideas that I've captured. And then I'm going to polish some of them up. And then I'm going to turn them into tweets that I can schedule out using this app called Buffer for a goal of at least getting 5 ideas, 5 tweets out per day, or X posts, whatever you want to call it. And I can just get them out each day. And so then when I'm ready to make content, I can simply scroll my Twitter timeline as a source of ideas. I can even see which ones people reacted well to help guide me to prioritize one topic over another. And, if you want to watch me do this in real time, go ahead and drop me a follow on X at Mark Queppet. And there you have it, okay? Following this simple system is my first main focus to nail consistently. Because if I can do that, if I can just get these ideas flowing, well, then everything else becomes easy. And, I've actually been doing this for a little while now. And so I'm kind of ready to move to the next piece. But let's give you an example from another angle so you really understand what I'm saying here. Okay, if you were going to be doing that fitness upgrade we're talking about, then maybe your first big keystone would be nailing a system for meal prep, because that's where most people fail. It's if they've got the food ready to eat, they can usually stick to it fairly well. But if you didn't do the prep, well, then it's really hard to stick to the diet, right? So maybe you realize that's what you're going to be your first big focus. If you're, trying to do a big productivity kick or something, it might be about making sure that you get 3 hours of deep work in before noon without any sort of scrolling or distraction. Okay. You just got to think, what's the big move, the big thing that if I get this down, everything else is going to be easier. And so that's really all you got to do for that step. Now, once you have that, the question becomes well, what about everything else you want to implement? And that brings us to this final step here, which is ruggedly iterating, okay? You just need a loose system for everything that's not your main focus. Your main focus, that Keystone thing, that's what you dial in very specifically. But then everything else, you just kind of have a loose idea of how you're going to do it, and you do your best to follow, and you don't beat yourself up if you don't. So in my case, I've got a general idea of what I would like to produce per week at this point. My team has a general idea of the workflow required to post all this stuff and everything like that. But we don't worry about being obsessed about making sure that we ship at any particular schedule at this point. Okay, the big thing is to simply get the system rolling while we're being consistent on the Keystone aspects. Okay, but we can't keep everything loosey-goosey for forever if we want to do our best work. So how do we end up nailing down the rest of things? Well, it's just a process of steadily and ruggedly iterating, where we methodically move our main focus to nailing down the next important piece, one after the other. Okay, so once our current Keystone focus gets locked in, like, my Twitter idea generation machine is just locked in, running smooth, then I figure out the next big important piece to focus on and nailing that down. And then, make any other additional changes and tweaks as we go. So, for example, maybe after a bit I realize that super short form content like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts is serving our lead flow the best. In that case, I'd modify the process to double down on those things. Maybe I realize it's actually longer form stuff, lower frequency content that's the key, and I optimize focus there. Maybe I realize that, they're actually I need to be doing much more targeted idea generation. I need to be surfing keywords and trends and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see. I don't need to figure it out now because I can get to it later as I build, a steadily more and more solid habit and routine of doing what's important. So if we're going to apply this to the fitness example, maybe after realizing that meal prep's your first focus, the next thing you realize is that's throwing your game off is that you're just not getting enough sleep, because when you're tired, you're less likely to follow your diet or go to the gym. So in that case, your next big focus would be focusing on sleep hygiene. Okay. And the way that I approach this is just, spend some time looking at this on a week-to-week basis. Just look back at your previous week progress and just ask yourself, where does my attention need to go next? So by letting my results and insights that I'm getting along the way dictate my focus, I know that I'm always going to be optimizing the most efficient manner available. Okay, you got to ditch this perfectionism mindset where everything needs to be perfectly nailed down from the very beginning. It's just not viable for most of us because habit change is complex and nuanced, and we all have our own unique circumstances, our own the things that we find appealing, things we don't find appealing, and it takes a little bit of trial and error. And if you try and just skirt around that and just forcefully install some kind of ideal system without ever trying it on or working it out, well, then it's not going to stick, right? You're just going to end up abandoning it because it doesn't really jive with you. So, but if you keep up this rugged iteration process, then eventually you're going to have a totally locked down and second nature system, and it's going to help you move towards your goals at a rapid pace. Now, there's one critical piece that I didn't cover here, and that's how I manage my mindset during all of this. And honestly, this is probably the most important part of the process. If you want massive follow-through and consistency, the big trick is that you want to be able to imagine the kind of guy who loves following your habit plan, and then you want to start thinking like him. If you can think like this guy, then you can feel like this guy, which transforms the typical drudgery and challenge of habit change into a massively exciting and sustainable process. To do this, I utilize my Metascript journaling method. If you followed my past Man of Action series, you might have heard my first version of this method before. And many of the guys who have utilized the original guide have told me that it's been absolutely life-changing, letting them kick bad habits while building the good habits they always wanted. And I'm happy to be telling you that I'm going to be launching an all-new and updated version of this journaling method here within the next couple weeks. That's more streamlined, clear, and powerful than ever before. So if you want to learn how to make big habit changes a breeze through simple and short journal entries, then click the link below and get on the waiting list for the new Metascript journal guide. By following this easy journaling method, I keep my motivation high, my focus clear, and I set myself up to easily rebound from any dips or setbacks. It's a seriously awesome tool. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Hopefully you've picked up some useful insights on how you can start setting yourself up for making some big habit shifts. Please like, subscribe, and enable notifications, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys much more frequently as I get this content machine running. Ooh yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.